But Chris Godwin commanded good money with the Buccaneers, even though he suffered a serious lower leg injury against the Baltimore Ravens on a Monday night during the season. He could have gotten more elsewhere. He chose to stay with Tampa Bay. Here's Godwin on why he decided to re-sign again with the Buccaneers.
I think what it boiled down to, honestly, was family and just staying true to who I am. I feel like, 9 out of 10 people in this position wouldn't necessarily have made the decision that I did, but I don't do the things that I do based on what other people would do. I work with a lot of great people, and those things really are big factors. Enjoying where you work plays a big part in this. Enjoying coming to work, enjoying going in and putting in the time, because this game is way too tough to just be out there just winging it. So you have to really enjoy doing it, or it's not going to work the same way that it needs to. So there were a lot of things that factored into it, but those are some of the top ones.
And teams love to hear that because the Bucs were able to keep him for less than maybe it would have taken. Now, maybe he got from the Buccaneers every last penny they were willing to put on the table before he made the decision. He could have gotten more from the Patriots, possibly could have gotten more elsewhere. But even though it is all about the money, there are other factors that go into it beyond state income tax. The fact that you've got to uproot your family. You may be happy where you are. Happy in your building. He's got nothing to compare it to. He's only ever played for the Buccaneers. But if you're happy,
that's right.
Why disrupt it? Why change, especially at this latter stage of your career? Why go somewhere else when you're with a team that is doing pretty well? He doesn't need to do the DeAndre Hopkins, go somewhere and try to win a Super Bowl ring. He's got one. The Bucs have won 4 NFC South championships in a row. They got there last year with him injured. You get him back, Mike Evans back, keep him healthy. Bucky Irving emerging as a great running back. Baker Mayfield, underrated still. The team collectively underrated and overlooked, and they like it. We talked to both Todd Bowles and Jason Light about that scouting combine. Why wouldn't you like it? Your team never gets complacent. They never get satisfied with themselves because nobody's satisfied with them, because everybody thinks that they're 1 year away from falling apart. And they continue to compete and contend. And I can understand why Godwin would want to stay there. I'd want to stay there. I'd want to stay in Tampa.
Hey,
Tampa's awesome.
I know. You don't got to tell me. I mean, I wanted to stay there too. But damn, you lose the spleen and you don't throw the ball the same anymore, then they don't want you anymore. So that's kind of what happened to me. But yeah, it's first off, more special place than people realize or give it credit for. There's a great football community down there. It is. As we've talked about before, I know selling season tickets. And yeah, there might not be a ton of millionaires and billionaires down there to always just sell out the ticket and throw money at the stadium that way. But damn, the fan base is awesome. They got it going like you're talking about. They're not going anywhere. You just spent a few minutes ago talking about, winning in the trenches. Tampa's one of those teams that's set up in the trenches to win for a while on both sides of the ball. So I totally get why Chris Godwin would want to stay there. Yeah, it's a good support system. It's a cool city. The team's good. The quarterback's good. They know how to feed him the ball. You stay there, too. You're coming off an injury. Right? You go somewhere else, there's going to be that pressure of hey, he doesn't look as explosive as we thought. Right? And now that's off. They know who I am. They know what I am. I'm working. I'm not 100%. I'm not I got to prove myself in day one of the OTAs because a new team gave me money, even though I'm not totally myself and feeling that way. I think there's a lot of things that made sense for him. We all looked at New England as that spot, and I thought there was a real possibility, but good for him for staying home there in Tampa Bay.
3 years, $66 million contract with $44 million guaranteed. He led the NFL in receptions and yards after catch last year before he suffered that injury week 7. Remember, that was controversial because the game felt over, but the Bucs were doing what they could to try to pull it out. And in hindsight, you just don't give up when there's still a chance you can get something positive happening. But the problem is he had that play. It kind of looked like a hip drop tackle. I can't remember if there was a fine. There was no flag, obviously, because it rarely gets flagged. But regardless, he got himself injured seriously, and he's still, at this point, without having to prove it, he gets this 3-year, $66 million contract to stay
I
with the
feel like that
Buccaneers.
injury helps the Bucs, right? That helped the Bucs. Like more times than not, when you see a quality football player who gets an injury where you're a little bit like, hey, he's getting up there in age, and that's a tough injury. The team that has the inside look, knows the human being, they might be willing to, invest in that, trust it a little bit more. Also, within that, he didn't get to just keep capitalizing on stats and yards that would have drove up the price. And then who knows if the Bucs would have been able to keep him. But certainly something that got kind of, went through my mind when they got him, going, man, if he stayed healthy and had an unreal year or a real good year, like it looked like he was going to have, was $22 million going to get it done? I don't know. But either way, those are the facts of the matter, and he's staying there.
He did say he was really close to leaving.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, it was surprising that a guy coming off of a serious injury would have that kind of interest, because usually you have to reestablish yourself as healthy before somebody will make that financial risk. And we haven't seen the full details yet for the deal. Maybe it is a 1-year deal with a team-held option for year 2 and year 3. It's possible that's the case.
Right.
But the bottom line is the Bucs stepped up, and others were willing to step up even more.
Two things helped him. The Bucs love him. He's a good player. He's perfect for their culture. He fits. He's a great slot receiver. And I think the other thing that helped him is New England, Josh McDaniels being there. He's, I'm sure, had a million conversations with Tom Brady about how awesome Chris Godwin is, right? Anybody you talk to as far as the Bucs days, Tom Brady loved Chris Godwin. That was the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Tom should have tried to get him in Las Vegas.
Well,
then.
maybe. But
Tom wishes he'd kept his mouth shut.
He fits
to Josh McDaniels.
He fits that role for the New England McDaniels offense, whatever. And I'm sure, yes, and of course Jason Light's from New England, and I'm sure the New England people and people of that have heard a lot of good stories about Chris Godwin and what he is as a professional.
Courtney has refreshed my impaired memory. Roquan Smith, the Ravens linebacker, was fined for the hip drop tackle, but it was rescinded. The NFL uses the word rescinded when in reality they lost on appeal. That's what happened. It was appealed and they lost. They didn't choose to rescind it. This wasn't some gesture of altruism or magnanimity. They lost, okay? It's just funny. It's okay to lose. I know when in Rome, you never lose. Even when you lose, you still didn't lose. It's okay to admit that you lost. They lost the appeal of the Roquan Smith fine for the hip drop tackle that wasn't on Chris Godwin, but he still got injured. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.